Louisiana Beer Review Special Edition, Dos Equis Lager Especial Revisited. Introduced in 1897, brewed in Monterrey, Mexico by Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma, which was acquired by Heineken International in 2010. But with all these beer buyouts, you don't know who's going to own it in a month. Two X's named for the Roman numeral 10, two tens, 20, for the advent of the 20th century, which was soon to come. Actually, the original Dos Equis was the ambar to date. This was introduced in 1984 as a golden lager, where the ambar is Vienna lager, brown lager. This is the flagship of the line today, the most popular Dos Equis, and you've seen their famous commercials, The Most Interesting Man in the World, which has helped make it even more popular. The carton or the 12-pack I bought had it listed at 4.2% alcohol. Now other sites will give it different ratings in the low to mid 4s. I don't know why it varies, but it does vary. I have done an examination of it. I did the canned version. I did the the Dos Equis Radler and other ones, but I realized I had not done a revisit. So you can imagine Beer Advocate, great beer, are not going to score it well. Mass produced, lager. It's not hoppy. Okay, golden. There's the slightest bit of sediment, but without a close examination, you wouldn't really notice that. Thin whitehead, I noticed the same with the Tecate. It's a biscuity, Mexican style beer aroma, and it's hard to describe that, but if you've had them before, you probably know what I'm talking about. The Carta Blanca, the Dos Equis, the Tecate, Corona Extra, they just all have, and Montejo, they all have this, it's a pungent yeastiness that's different from the American style beers. But it's noticeable. It's hard to say why it's different. Maybe they're using less adjuncts, corn and rice, I don't know. There was a beer called, and somebody was telling me this, saying, there was a Tres Equis, and I'm saying, Tres Equis, what are you talking about? And I'm rolling my eyes, during the examination. Then I looked it up a few days ago, and I said, he was right. And that's usually the case. I'm thinking I knew what I'm talking about, and I don't. And it was a light cerveza, light beer. Now, back in the 60s, and it looked like a 1960s or 70s can, before Miller Lite came out in 75, they would call a lot of beers light beers that today would just be considered premium beers. And when they said light back in the 60s, 50s and 60s, they really just meant light-bodied, crisp, clean finish, not low calorie. That wasn't really something people were thinking about, at that time. The flavor, the biscuitiness, the barley malt, sweet, not too sweet, bready, which biscuit is from bread. Though, no real corn or rice. If you're looking for hoppiness and bitterness, this is not where you need to be. If you're looking for light, easily accessible, easy to drink Mexican beer, this is the place to be. It would pair so well with, I'm thinking like a cheese enchilada, cheese enchiladas with the diced onions and maybe a little sour cream, maybe grilled onions, but I guess the diced would do well with it. But you want some really strong onions. The kind you cut and the smell will be in your hands for a day. That's what you want with that. And Maybe some green sauce instead of the red salsa. Light and watery mouthfeel and a crisp, clean, refreshing finish. Hey, it's not super bold, it's not super flavorful. You might make the argument that it's dull, it's too ordinary, and I wouldn't really challenge that or disagree. I don't think it's too dull or ordinary, but I would agree that it's on the ordinary, not particularly bold side. I just have a problem when people are saying, you know, it's horrible, it's awful, it's a one, you know, 1 out of 100 and things like that, because it's none of those. I think it's a little higher priced. Tecate is a much better value. This would be $7.99 a 6-pack. Tecate usually would be about $5.99 a 6-pack. And Tecate has a little bit more flavor, a little bit more aroma, a little bit more body. So it's, to me, a marginally better beer. This I would say is a B. It's good, but that's it. It's a good beer. Tecate is more like a very good to even excellent beer, I think. Here's a 1986 Southeastern Football Annual preview book. They put, Athlons might still be in business. I think they, like most of these companies, are struggling, magazine companies, but they always put out regionals. Like if you're in Texas, you're going to get the Southwest edition, for instance. But and they will always have Louisiana State on the cover. Around here in Texas, you have, you know, it's going to be Texas or Texas A&M, one of those teams. Maybe Houston, in the Houston area. Florida, kind of in the bad old days for them. I know in 1986, Louisiana State won the Southeastern Conference. They won it in 84 and in 86. But they're, unfortunately for them, they went to the Sugar Bowl and had to play Nebraska both times, and they didn't stand a chance against Nebraska, really. Moosehead. Okay. That's when they, now back in 1986, Moosehead was kind of looked upon, it says New Brunswick, St. John, New Brunswick, and Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I don't know if it's still made in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. But it was considered like a craft beer is today in a way, like, oh, I'm getting Moosehead, something really fantastic. Now people would roll their eyes at it and say, Moosehead. And that's how things change. And they always have good articles in these magazines. I've read them all. Memphis State. Now the University of Memphis, formerly Memphis State University. They've had up and down years. This is an up year, 2015. So these are a nice collectible to have. And that's that. And, oh, one more thing. Honey watching on a Saturday afternoon. You won't see that in the magazines today, really. You know, with the politically correct environment that we have. This is a good photo because she doesn't have that 80s hairspray, bonanza hairstyle, not to mention other qualities that she has, but the 80s, I didn't care for that then, I don't care for it now. The women, yeah, of course, but the big hair, I didn't like it then. I just thought, oh, this doesn't look good. But anyway, some of the hairstyles out today, especially for men, we're going to look back and think, really? Les Bon Temps Roulé, a good, not exceptional beer by any stretch, but good. And I'm going to end this review by saying, y'all come on down to New Orleans or Baton Rouge.